it's Christian, we're talking about it. This is the Mike Charleston Show.
Alrighty, well, welcome again to another episode of the Mike Charleston Show. So today I am joined with Chuck is back.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, he's back from Hawaii, so he's still struggling with jet lag.
Well, the jet lag's over, but the body still hadn't figured out what time it is.
I don't feel it, but early in the morning.
Yeah, I don't want to wake up.
And Sarah's back here.
I'm
so,
here.
Yep. So, yeah, I wasn't sure if last week was the interview or what. But
No, I was here.
Okay, it was just me and you. So, anyway, so this week we are going to be talking about a subject that, about accountability and things like that. But how I wanted to start out was how we got there. And that was because lately, especially in Texas, something's going on in Texas. All these church leaders are falling left and right in Texas. And there's one leader who's not in Texas, but Dr. Michael L. Brown. And if you're not familiar with him, that's a name familiar to us. Are you familiar with his name?
I'm not.
Okay. So he was part of the Brownsville revival years ago, and then ended up leaving the Brownsville revival. And he was like their theologian on staff. And, he's written many books. We have a number of his books.
I like his one book, How Saved Are We? It's like hardcore.
It's hardcore. It's definitely works. It's hard. It's good. But he's a Messianic Jew, so he has a lot of resources on how to reach Jews. And it's very, very well done. And it's still good. Well, back in 2000, 2001, 2002, he had some rough patches in his life. He was going through some stuff, and he was doing some stuff that he should have sat on the sidelines for. It was like someone should have called him out. And in fact, people did call him out. And we're talking about accountability. He refused the accountability at the time. And so 20 years later, this stuff is starting to come out again, and he's trying to deflect and is trying to gaslight everybody, and that didn't really happen. And it's looking really bad for him. And this could have been taken care of 20 years ago, easily. It easily could have been taken care of 20 years ago. It's like when you hear some of the stuff, you don't know the issue. I'm not going to get into it, but it's not like he should be kicked out of the pulpit and all this, but he probably should step down for a little bit and get things right in his life. Now it would be punitive at this point because it's 20 years after the fact, and the guy's just a liar now. So now what do? It's a whole different issue. And he did go through accountability steps, and he refused them at every point. So what brought it to the point was I was watching some videos on all of this. On his podcast, he talks about accountability, and it's very shallow. It's very, I would agree with everything he says for the most part. It's not bad stuff, but he is a hypocrite. It reminded me of what Jesus said, the Pharisees, they sit in Moses' seat. You need to do what they say, but do not do what they do because they are hypocrites. And Michael L. Brown is that guy. He's telling you how to be accountable, but in his own life was not accountable. They actually had a third-party investigative report called Firefly do an investigation, and his board and him agreed that whatever the findings were, they were going to go with until the findings came out. And they decided, no, we're not going to go with this because we don't like the verbiage. And so they changed everything, and then the board resigned the next day. So it's okay. So what is accountability, and what does that look like? And so I thought we should talk about that because it seems like a lot of these churches, people are falling left and right, and it shouldn't even get to that point. And so what does accountability look like? And it takes two to tango here. So that's really what it comes down to is accountability. So Chuck and I guess you could say we're accountable to each other. We've never sat down and formally said, hey, Chuck and I are accountable to each other. But because we're in a relationship, that sounds funny. Because we have a relationship, we meet together, we fellowship together, even if it's not even a church issue. Let's say Chuck doesn't go to church anymore. We still have a relationship. Yeah. You have every right to talk to me about issues that you see in my life. And in fact, I think you have at some point. I don't remember, maybe not. I know Larry has. A number of people have because, I'm Mike. And I overstep my bounds sometimes. But so it does have to be a reciprocal thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It has to be something where you are close enough to the person to feel confident that whatever you're communicating with them about whatever discussion you're having, it's going to be received in the right way.
Yes, absolutely. So anyway, Sarah was like confused about this here, right?
Confused?
Well, okay, you're like, because she told me we did this episode, and you can go back to season 3 for verse 16.
Verse 16. Okay.
Episode 16. We did something on accountability, but I said this is going to be a little bit different of a twist, because who is accountability for? How are churches held accountable? And I know we're going to go into this, and people get tired of this maybe, but the whole church structure kind of lends itself as a business model, and whether you like it or not. And so you have CEOs, head pastors, and you have boards, and they're supposedly accountable. But then why do some apostles, prophets, pastors seem to get past that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, there is accountability, but then there isn't. So what does accountability actually look like, and what do we do with it? That's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. So,
Well, I think it's really sad because, through the years, obviously, like I moved to Louisiana to be part of a big church.
Yep.
And
you don't want to say who that is?
whatever.
Okay.
People that live in Louisiana or know about famous pastors in Louisiana can figure it out.
I don't think so, because this was in the 80s. And I don't
Okay,
think
well,
people would
anyway,
know.
but
yeah.
Maybe not.
I was 9 at the time, but I remember going to church with the big confession and all that.
Oh, yeah.
And just, since then, meeting so many people that don't go to church because of, things that happen, and they just are like, I'm just not into that anymore. But we just, through being a Christian for almost 4 decades, I'm like, I've seen so many people fall and so many big pastors, and it's just such a shame, because like, I'm not going to give up my faith in Christ because people do stupid things.
No.
But it definitely causes a lot of people to question their faith, question what we're doing and whatever. And it brings shame to the name of Christ. And I think it's horrible. So, I know we were talking about it yesterday. It's like, what do you do with churches, when these people, especially like young people that get in positions of leadership,
Yep.
and even older people, it doesn't matter. But when you end up leading masses of people, thousands of people, like I don't know that there really is a great structure for some sort of accountability when you're talking about you're in charge of that many people. It's just like, I don't think the Bible lends itself to showing how that's supposed to work, because I don't think church is supposed to work like that.
Well, no. And we have the issue we were talking about yesterday, so behind the scenes here. And we were talking about the point of church. We get caught up on titles. We get caught up on positions and things like that. And I'm like, just because you're a good preacher or even a good teacher does not make you a leader. And so that's the difference when in Timothy, when it talks about the qualifications of an elder, that's a leader. Now, yes, he's apt to teach and all that, but you may have a young man in your church that is really good at preaching. He is not a leader. He is still young, and we don't know the end of his life here, where how faithful he's going to be, and so we don't give them the position of authority and of leadership, and so what we see in the church today is these younger people are getting the positions of because they're charismatic, they're great speakers, and they look good, they're younger, and so these churches they're treating them as CEOs. Well, in the business world, a CEO that has a moral failure usually isn't a game changer. Like, it's like, we're not proud of that necessarily, but boys will be boys. Well, in the church, we have moral standards, and that's when it becomes a big, shocking thing on TV, like, this person had to step down because of infidelity in the marriage. And, it's like, well, okay, if Tim Cook of Apple has infidelity, well, he's just not married, but, if someone has infidelity, no one cares, because it's not a moral. Microsoft is not a moral standing, whatever.
Right.
So that's the problem of having this as a CEO-based kind of relationship, and you have these young people. And in fact, the people that have fallen weren't exactly young. So that's the real problem. So how does it get to that point, though? And that's kind of the question is, okay, we say the leadership structure, it shouldn't have got to this point. You go to a church, and we see the end result, but it shouldn't have gotten to that point where, I want to say this up front. We're all human.
Yes.
People are going to fail. People are going to make mistakes. That's not the point of this. This isn't the point to say, well, they should never have issues. They should never fail in some ways. But it's, leading up to that. If I'm struggling with something, I should be able to go to Chuck and be like, hey, my thought life is chaotic right now. I need some help in this area. And that should be a step towards the good. Instead of like, if I confess to Chuck something that I'm struggling with, it's going to end the ministry. And that's too many people's thought, is that it's going to end the ministry and all this is going to go away. And my $3.6 million budget is going to go away and all that stuff. We were just talking about church. It had a 3.6, which evidently I don't know how big that is. I don't know. Evidently it's pretty big.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. So there are steps here. And I think that's the point of accountability. We don't have to, what did we talk about yesterday, where it has a program, where every church has this accountability partners and things like that. And I think that's what we talked about last time. Yeah. Like, we don't need that. Like, the fact that I am here with Chuck, we are in accountability relationship, right? Because you should have the right to speak in my life. And I think that's the big thing, is humility. And I wonder why Christians struggle with this. Because
I think we as humans tend to look at a person and, if they do get in a position of leadership, then we tend to put them on a pedestal.
Yes, absolutely.
It falls back on, if you want to call it the lay people of a church, that we look up to this person, and it builds up this idea that they're something better.
Yes.
And I mean, if you are in a position of leadership, you are held to a higher standard of accountability. I get that. But at the same time, we're not supposed to be following a person.
No.
And even though they may be leading us, there may be some mentorship, something there. We're not bound up in another person, because we're all sinners. We're all have failures, and especially with the young pastors that you're talking about, whatever position they may be in, that makes it very, very difficult for that individual, I believe, when we put them in a position where they're not prepared or able to be able to handle what comes with it, because you get lifted up. We're human. There's this whole idea of pride that seeks in and going to create a position for Satan to say, hey, I'm going to tempt you
Absolutely.
here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is exactly what it says in 1 Timothy 3, where it's given the qualifications. It says in verse 6, not a novice, lest being filled up with pride, he fall into the condemnation of the devil. So we're told not to have a novice, not somebody new, and he's got to be of good behavior, with rapport with those within and without. So I'm like, that takes time to develop that.
Right. And that's why churches feel like they have to have a figurehead. That's not scriptural at all. There's no one greater than anybody else in the body of Christ. In fact, there are rules in place, if you want to call them rules. If someone is caught up in a sin, ye who are spiritual, restore such a one. Okay, who is that? Well, whoever's spiritual. Yeah. If someone's caught, there's the Matthew 18 where go to him. If he doesn't hear you, go to two more. And if take it to the church if they still don't hear you. What if it's an elder? Well, there's the passage that talks about, rebuke in front of all so that others may fear. But treat him as a father and take more than one. Don't just, don't accuse an elder. Yeah. So there are safeguards in place here that anybody can correct anybody. In fact, Paul withstood Peter to the face and rebuked Peter.
That's right.
And stood up to him. And he wasn't like, well, Peter's the head of the church, that's what Jesus said, right? There's none of that. It's like, hey, this is wrong. You need to stop. And if that's where the humility comes in, where it's like, okay, I was telling you yesterday, there's been a couple people that have corrected me that I look at them and go, you're picking me on this one little thing, and your life is a disaster. Like, what the heck? But that's a terrible attitude to have. That's the attitude that will lead you into falling later on, because you think you're greater than that. And so I sit there and go, okay, is this a legitimate issue? Absolutely. Okay, they got a valid point. Okay, I don't care who it is, so anybody has access to correct within reason. Obviously, we don't want to people just accusing people left and right of things. But honestly, hopefully there's not these many issues to deal with, But when there are, concerns, you see something like, it's getting to his head a little bit here. We need to, pull back a little bit, correct him a little bit on this. But when we get saved, it's a very humiliating process. It's a humbling thing to come to the end of yourself and say, I'm not good enough. I'm not able enough to save myself. I need a savior. That's humbling.
Yes.
At some point, something switches and in our Christian walk, it seems, where we're like, I'm above all that. I don't need all that. I'm better than everybody else. And I got to hide all my issues under the rug. Well, that's bad. That is really, really dangerous if you get to that point. Now, I know we're talking about church leadership needing to be held accountable, but who is accountability for? You have some of those points there, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, accountability is for everybody.
It is for everybody.
All need to be accountable.
It's not just church leadership.
No, nope. And I mean, to me, accountability kind of just goes hand in hand with community. And I feel
Relationship.
Yeah, that's what we all need. That's what the body of Christ is for. And so anytime we just have programs and structures and all that, we're missing what God really designed the body to be. All the one another's that we talk about all the time. Like that's what we're called to do, is to serve and to love and to care for one another and admonish one another. And, sometimes there could be a time where you have to confront somebody, and it all comes out of relationship. And so we all need to be accountable.
Because the whole point of confronting someone is not to like, I'm better than you. It's out of concern that, hey, I see you going down a bad path and I want to help you with that. You know, and now there's a lot of people that may be in your life that like to help, and so just be aware.
But they have a good heart. Though.
They do have a good heart. Yes.
So I mean, obviously, when you think about accountability, of Proverbs 27:17 says, "Iron sharpeneth iron." Yep. So a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend, which usually is probably painful. But and then Matthew 18:15 says, "Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother." And then it goes on to the next steps. Yeah. But anyway. Yeah. And then Proverbs 27:5-6 says, "Open rebuke is better than secret love. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful."
Oh, I've heard that one. I've heard that one.
I mean, there's a time for it.
There is a time. Honestly, this is not fun. When I have to go, and I've done this to a few of my friends and gone to them, and it's not fun. It's not something you look forward to because they're your friends.
That's right.
And it's like, this may go badly. Yeah. What happens if they're just tell you off, and you don't want to lose a friend. But at the same time, I don't want them to keep going down this road where you feel like this is dangerous. And so... and maybe I'm wrong, but that's why we talk about it. That's why we're here for one another. And that was what I was talking to someone this week, and I was challenging him on this kind of topic. And he goes to a big mega church, and I challenged him on that. And I said, "So that's your church? How long have you been going there?" And he's like, "Oh, years." "How many people there do you know?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "How many people do you know?" And he's like, "Well, my family goes there, like my in-laws go there." And I'm like, "That's it? That's it." I said, "That's the problem with the big mega churches. You go, show up for the music, and you hear a nice sermon," because we were talking about sermons, and maybe he's a good speaker. That's great. But the point of church is not that. I'm all right with getting together and having a special meeting. We're going to be doing that in a couple of weeks, hopefully, and I'm not against that, but the majority of the Christian life is lived out in community and with the one another's. And hey, I live next to you. I see you having some of these issues. I'm going to, with love, come alongside you and help correct that, or at least question, like, "Hey, what do you think about that?" So. Yeah.
Well, and confronting is often difficult, but even more difficult might be confessing your faults. James 5:16 says, "Confess your faults one to another," and that is probably way more difficult. But we're supposed to do that, and I feel like in a good relationship, you hopefully have a balance of both. Because if you just are confronting,
that's where you cross over from humbling yourself to humiliation.
Yes. Well, and so here's the.
It is important though.
Well, the humbling. So the confession. We were talking about this, and there's one thing to being caught. A lot of these people that you see on TV, they got caught.
Yeah.
And there's very few of them that will come out. I remember one guy recently, some pastor came out and said he's stepping down for a while because he had some inappropriate texts to a friend. And the inappropriate texts were not inappropriate. They were just text messages, but it was the informality of it. And I thought, he's not one of my favorite guys to listen to, and I got issues with him. But I was like, dude, this is a nothing burger. But he came out himself. He wasn't like caught out in this, and he's just like, I need to watch myself. I can appreciate that, I like, okay, I don't think you need to step down for a while for that, but whatever. But at least, most of these people, they get caught out. And then it's like, I'm sorry. I got caught. And so it's like, so the confession part, you have to be in a relationship, and it's not easy. Most of us don't want to admit it that we have failings at times. And so to come forward and say, hey, this is what I'm struggling with is big, especially if you're a church leader. It's huge, and it's very difficult. So that's a good verse, even though it's almost impossible to do at times.
Maybe.
It seems like it.
It just seems it's difficult. But I wanted to ask you, Chuck, what did you think about the phrase, no one knows me better than I know myself?
Oh, yeah.
No one knows me better than I know myself. I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not a big fan of that.
Okay, because I heard some guys on a podcast yesterday, and we talked about it, and that's what they said. It's like one of the biggest lies out there is that we think nobody knows me better than I know myself, and in some ways, it's probably true. I mean, certain aspects of our,
right.
But I think the problem is that. What his point was is that when we look at ourselves, we see ourselves through, he said carnival glasses, but rose-colored glasses or whatever. Right. And so, we have excuses for all of our
we're usually as humans a lot better at judging other people than we are ourselves.
Pretty much.
We give ourselves a lot more grace.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I say, we judge ourselves by our intentions, and we judge you by your actions. But when our actions, if it was reversed, we would be judging ourselves harshly, but we don't.
We don't.
We don't.
Well, that's the thing, like with parenting, I know it's so easy when you see other families, you look at what they do with their kids or don't do or whatever, and you're just like, wow, that's not going to end well. Or like, it's so clear to see in somebody else. Right. But in your own family, it's like, oh, well, I'm always consistent with my kids.
Why
I'm
we
always,
do this. There's a reason why we can't,
So a couple times I have asked, people that have stayed with us to, like, hey, what do you see? Because, I overlook things, Well, I have. It's been many years. Like when the kids were little, like I remember one time my older sister came and visited, and, I asked her, I was like, so, from your perspective, from an outsider coming in, do you see anything that maybe I should be aware of or I'm overlooking or,
she said,
whatever.
Well, let me tell you about Mike.
Yes, exactly.
And then I stopped asking people. I was like, good, never mind.
Well, I got a list of people you could probably ask, and they'd be very honest.
Oh, okay. So I mean,
there are some people out there that have no problem with this. They are very bold, and they will go up to people. But for the most part, most of us, it's not easy for us to do these things, and to, especially people we love. Like if it's easy to get on YouTube, and like there's a bunch of people out there that are keepers of truth, and they can point out people that they're not in relationship with, and they listen to them, and they're like, this is why they're wrong. This is, it's easy to do that, but it's harder to be like, hey, Chuck, I got to talk to you later. It's really not easy. Yeah. Especially if it's like, Chuck, I got to talk about your wife later.
Wow.
No, it gets very difficult when you get into those relationship issues. Or even worse, Chuck, I got to talk about your kids later. Yeah, you're like, oh, really? They probably deserve it. No. So, that is, I'm sorry, we got off track.
So the one guy said that you need somebody in your life that will help you see yourself, because it's hard. It's just hard to see. It's hard to see the real you because you're just.
Well, what's that verse? The heart is deceitful and wicked above all else. I know that people take that out of context at times, but we don't know ourselves because we judge ourselves not as harsh.
Well, what do you think about because then they went into spiritual blindness, because sin blinds. And so which one of us is without sin? Which one of us can say, hey, that's something from years ago.
Or being deceived.
So now if I have sin in my life, that could cause me to have a blind spot to not see something. So anyway, I was just like, I don't know, spiritual blindness. I think that's a thing.
I mean, I don't know about the terminology, but sure, there are things that we cannot see. And I think that's why we need each other.
Or overlook.
Okay.
Intentionally. Yeah. You don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
And overlooking leads into a pattern, and which is dangerous.
Right.
So it's kind of good to.
Come on, I want to know what you think.
Yeah, I want to know what you think, but it's not very loud. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else do we have here?
Well, so speaking of accountability, I have Hebrews 4:13. Do you recognize that reference?
Hebrews 4?
I feel like maybe it's on a T-shirt
I
or
did
something.
not. When I read it, I was like, I'm trying to remember the context of that.
Is that the one? Everything will be laid naked?
Yeah.
That was our, when I was in Bible college, our floor, we had a verse, and that was our verse. I can't tell you why. Right now,
Anyway, so Hebrews 4:13 says, "Neither is there any creature that is not manifest in his sight, but all things are naked and open unto the eyes of him with whom we have to do." So
Yes.
one day we will all give account. And
Yes.
so even though, in this world, we can cover things up and have our reasons why we do stuff, but for him, that's not going to work.
No, not at all. Everything is
So-
laid bare, and the picture there, like being naked and exposed,
Yeah.
that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're under the spotlight and they're checking everything, it's like, hey, man, that is, no,
Yeah.
I don't like that, and that's what it's going to be. Like that's not what it's going to be like, but basically, it's like you're going to be. You have to give an account to God,
Yeah.
and so that's a big one.
And then Ecclesiastes 12:14 says, "For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil."
Yeah, and
Day's coming.
those are kind of scary verses,
Yeah, they are.
like Achan sin, be careful, your sin may find you out.
Yeah.
Those things that does, people are like, oh, Christianity is just fear-based. Well, sometimes fear is good. When you
Yeah.
walk to the edge of the cliff, there's fear there
Yeah.
for a reason, so you don't fall off.
Yeah.
And so there's fear that, maybe I shouldn't be doing this because other people might find out and that would be bad and not good. Oh, so you're doing it for other people. Well, no, you do it for God. But in the immediate, you're like, yes, this is gonna be embarrassing if stuff like this comes out. And so I want to live on the straight and narrow because I
Right.
don't want to shame the name of Christ. And yes, I'm doing this for God. But in the immediate, right here, I don't want to shame my wife. I don't want to shame my friends or the church or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, but that day's coming and we will all give an account. So that's very sobering. Makes you
Yes,
think
it is.
twice about the things you say, the things you do. It's like, yeah, I don't know.
Okay, we'll take a pause right now, and everyone just confess everything, because this just got heavy real quick. And okay, so
Anyway.
what else? What else do we have here? Count. Oh, we were talking about this. Isn't on the notes really, and I guess I didn't think about it because in our church we don't have any money, but accountability with money is huge.
Yeah, it is.
Now, in a marriage, we're accountable to each other. Like
Right.
Chuck doesn't care about where I spend my money
No,
necessarily.
you do what you want.
Yeah, if you found out that I'm spending it at casinos and stuff, you
Yeah, I
might.
may have a talk.
Right. But in our marriage, we talk about these things and we lay rules down. Like we're not just going to spend money willy nilly
Right.
and without discussing some issues. And sometimes I may break those rules, and then you're like, hey. What gives? And you hold me accountable to that.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't really happen,
Right.
But
She never breaks the rules.
she doesn't. That's for sure. No, but do I? We don't really have.
We
the
don't
rules.
really have
a
rules,
hard
but-
set rule.
Right. No, we've had rules in the past, but now that we know each other, it's like we're not going to
If
do
anything,
that.
he'd want me to spend more money. He's always
Yes.
like, you could have gotten that. I'm like, I don't
Yes,
know.
she's very cheap, but that's fine.
I'm frugal.
Yeah, frugal, cheap. She's frugal. And but so in a church though, however, I was thinking about this. So there may be people within churches that are listening to this.
Yeah.
This is a big one because a lot of churches have fallen. A lot of pastors have fallen into temptation because they have access to a lot of money, and
Right.
money and sex are big ones that pastor leaders are tempted with.
Yeah.
And like we were just listening to one where you were saying their budget was $3.6 million, and he is not allowed to spend. And it was like, oh, woe is me, like I can't spend more than $5,000 at one time. And I was like, $5,000
Without having it
Right.
checked with the board. Or
right, without
whatever.
checking with the board. And I was
wow.
like, $5,000. That seems like
That seems like a lot,
I
right?
could do the whole camp right there, and without any approval of the board. But we don't necessarily have a board. Now, we don't raise money for anything. We don't take any money in because I decided a long time ago, anytime you deal with money, you deal with a lot of temptation, and it ruins things. And
Yeah.
so I prefer people give whenever they feel like giving to whatever cause they feel like giving.
Yeah.
And last year we actually raised money for the camp, and we were very open about where the money was going.
Yeah.
And things like that. But
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you. I think that's been a very good methodology policy to follow, the way we'd be able to handle ourselves, because you don't have, there's no budget, there's no account for the church, there's nothing,
Yeah.
and being able to, we see a need, we try to meet the need, and we
Right.
try to get in there and do
Right.
what we can. But
Yeah.
everybody on their own, however they feel they need to give, that's the right way to do it. I
Yeah.
really
Well, and we're a small church, so we can do that. Realistically, say if we had like your son-in-law's church or something like that, which is still a small church, but they've maybe got 60, 70 people in the church.
Something like that. And you got, there's a buildings involved. There's things involved. So you got to look at, hey, what do we need to do for here? Do we need to do that? Yeah. So it's a little bit different. Still, it's not something where I don't think they have a budget or,
Oh, okay.
I don't think they actually, take money. I think it's just more, hey, this is a need and somebody
And they
wants
take
to
care of
meet
it.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Good for them. But even if they decided to maybe organize a little bit more, you have to be open with that.
Yep.
You can't just take the money in and be like, we're doing stuff over here. And then you're like, well, where did that money go? Because everyone's going to, once money's involved, people are like, well, where is my money going to?
Right.
And it's legitimate concern,
Absolutely.
you know, and if you're not open with it, are you skimming some off the top for your own benefit? And you got to be very, very careful with that. So you can be accountable in your own marriage with money, with friends and a business too.
Yeah.
You know, if you own a business, you want to be on the up and up because you can get in big trouble, you know?
Right.
So anyways, I just wanted to throw that in there. That wasn't necessarily in our notes, but.
Okay, well, this one I forgot to put it in the notes, but
We're going off script completely now.
Okay, well, it's just because I remembered I recently read.
That's all right.
I recently read
It's a podcast.
I recently read Samuel, and you have when Saul is trying to kill David, and then David runs, and this goes on for chapters. And but David has the opportunity to kill Saul, and he doesn't. And he
touch
says,
not the Lord's anointed.
Right. And so you hear people say that verse, and I feel like, man, people need to read their Bible because like that it's not talking about you can't confront a pastor or you can't, it was he was anointed to be the king of Israel. And so he was like, I'm not going to kill him because God has set him up to be king. And even though he's trying to kill me and I could right now kill him, he's like, I'm not going to do that. But to take that verse and then,
every pastor, every preacher is now the king. And
kind of a stretch.
Yeah, it is. And it wasn't the fact that David corrected Saul a number of times.
Yeah.
He just didn't kill him.
Right.
And so that's kind of how you want to interpret that verse. Is like, yeah, you don't have to kill him, but it's all right to correct him. What about David when he was in sin? Who corrected him? Nathan the prophet came in. If he was like going, well, I can't touch the Lord's anointed. Well, that's ridiculous. He needed to be corrected because he was in some major sin there. Yeah. And so don't be afraid of these things. That's the problem. We have this structure of like the importance. We have levels of importance here. And that's just not, you won't find that in the Bible. It's not in the New Testament style of church. No one is more important than anybody else. Jesus is the head, and then we're all in different leadership positions. Maybe some of us have been saved a little bit more. Maybe some of us have been faithful longer than others. When I say faithful, like been in the faith longer and have some wisdom. And so we use that to our benefit, but it doesn't mean that everyone is above reproach. Like if you're doing something, you should be able to be called on it. And that's the point, I think.
Yeah.
So did we go completely off script now?
Yeah, it's all good. But I have one more verse. Romans 1:12 says, this is Paul, he says, that is that I may be comforted together with you by the mutual faith, both of you and me.
Yes.
I thought it was interesting because, he's not just coming to comfort them. He's going to be comforted by them. It goes both ways, so it wasn't like, here's Paul, the apostle, and he's above everybody else. No, he needs to be comforted. He needs to be encouraged just like anybody else. So just the whole system, unfortunately, has been so messed up that we end up with just a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and if you think you're above being corrected, watch out. You're in trouble.
Yeah.
You're in trouble. So I don't care on what level of the spectrum you think you are. We all need someone to help watch out for us. And it's obviously at the end of the day, we have God to account, give account to. Yeah. But in the meantime, we should use each other in that way to help each other out.
Yep.
Because we're here to sharpen each other. We're here to edify and to build up. We're not here to tear down. Yeah. So the point of correcting is not to just tear down and say how good I am. If that's your attitude, shame on you, honestly. But it's to help build up and to help correct and to be a benefit to the body of Christ.
Yeah, well, and I just wonder real quick, with correcting each other and all this, how many times it says love one another and how many times you'll see admonish or correct or whatever. It's like there's a lot more love. And I feel like if you keep that as the balance, it's like a lot of this and then a little of this. I'm like, we'll do all right.
Yeah.
So. Anyway.
All right.
All right. That's it.
Sounds good.
You've got mail.
All right. We actually have 2 weeks in a row of mail. And maybe I should put on me. Okay. So we got 2 weeks in a row. You know, I was feeling bad that we don't get a lot of mail. And then I was watching a couple other videos of people that have like way more subscribers and viewers than us.
Yeah.
And still no comments on their YouTube feed. And
Nothing?
probably,
Okay.
so I'm like, people just don't email in. So anyways,
email?
we got Big Fan Brand that always emails, and we got Larry that emails.
Larry.
So Larry is still here, and I just don't have the Larry thing. So yeah, anyways, so Larry.
Come on, I want to know what you think.
Okay, well, Larry says, I forgot to mention in my last email that I enjoyed the interview you did. I really appreciated his perspective, and I thought you did a good job, Mike, especially going solo.
Well, thank you very much, Larry. It was a fairly good interview. I mean, I'm not very good at interviewing people, but it seems like the people that we have interviewed, they know how to be interviewed,
how to do
and they
it,
can
huh?
carry the conversation a little bit. So
You got to come with 5 questions and you're good to go for a half hour.
Philip Telfer, he's like that. This other one, I had my questions, but I want it to be more like conversational style.
Yeah.
But man, I start getting nervous, and I want to make sure I get my questions, and I look at the time, and I'm like, oh, we've only been here 12 minutes. We still got 12 more minutes, and it's like I don't know what else to ask him, and then when I get nervous, I just start rambling, and so I must ramble. I must be nervous
You must
a lot.
be nervous a lot.
That's great. So, well, thank you, Larry. I hope if you don't know what he's talking about, a couple of weeks ago, we did an interview with Del Rosa. I forget how to pronounce his name. Michael. Michael. He's from the Philippines, and he came out with the book, Did Jesus Really Say He Was God? It's a very good book, so you can go check it out, and it's a very good interview, and a lot of people must enjoy interviews more because a lot more people are watching that and listening to that than anything else. So maybe I should do more interviews.
The Mike Charleston Show.
All right. Well, we have Elisabeth in the room for the game time with Elisabeth. You're not wearing your headset. You don't need them.
No.
Okay.
All right.
We'll just go like that then. Okay. So what do we have this week? I know we talked about a couple different options. So what did you end up coming up with?
This is Christian pop culture quiz.
Christian pop culture quiz.
culture.
All right. Got to turn that up. So we're going to hear this, or we're going to hear this.
Yeah, that's probably me.
Or okay. Well, I don't know, Chuck, because we got some good knowledge. So, all right, what do we got?
All right, well, we'll start with you first.
Okay.
Which Christian musician released the album Lion in 2022?
In 2022.
Yes.
Okay, so
Do you want the
got this,
options?
what?
Do you want the options?
Oh, we got options.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's
multiple
right.
choice. Cool.
That's right. We got options.
Chris Tomlin,
Chris Tomlin,
Elevation Worship,
Elevation,
Corey Asbury, or Zach Williams?
Corey Asbury, Zach Williams. I don't think it's Corey Asbury. I think Chuck thinks it's Corey Asbury.
Yeah.
But what's the
maybe
first
so.
Chris Tomlin, Elevation Worship.
Yes, because I think the song was originally written by Brandon Lake, and so he was part of
that would be
Elevation.
Elevation,
So
yeah.
I'm going with Elevation.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, all right, yes. Yes, we got that one right.
All right. In the movie Paul,
we got
Apostle
movie.
of Christ,
Ooh, Paul the
who
Apostle.
portrays Luke the physician?
Ooh, I know this one.
Mel Gibson, Jim Caviezel, James Faulkner, or Liam Neeson?
Okay, so I don't think Chuck's seen this one.
I have not.
Paul the Apostle.
Paul
So
the Apostle.
it's
Doing
about
Luke.
It's about Paul.
Okay, right.
But
this is
through
who
Luke's
portrayed
perspective.
Luke.
Yes.
All right, give them to me again.
Mel Gibson, Jim Caviezel, James Faulkner, or Liam Neeson?
Okay, so if I remember correctly, it could be wrong. The main guy was Luke. So if this is not correct, then I don't know who Luke is.
The main guy was Luke?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. right?
Okay, that would term it a little
I
bit
don't know.
different. Then.
Because if it's Luke, then it's Jim Caviezel.
That's kind of if it's the main guy, then
Right.
I'm going to go Jim Caviezel.
Yeah.
If it was just a off character, then maybe one of the others. But
Well, the answer is Jim Caviezel.
yeah, right.
Okay. Yes. Because
Yep.
it was. I think it was a story about Luke following Paul or writing stories about for Paul or
Yeah.
something
Okay.
like that.
Yeah.
But it was still about Paul. But
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Who wrote the book The Cost of Discipleship?
This is for Chuck.
This is for you.
For me.
Yes. C.S. Lewis, Francis Chan, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, or Tim Keller.
All right. Well, Francis
Okay.
Chan would have written a book about discipleship.
Yeah.
C.S. Lewis. It doesn't sound like C.S.
Doesn't
Lewis.
sound like one of his works. I would have to agree with that one.
I'm going to go with Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and
Yes.
which, by the way, this is pop culture. Pop culture
Yeah.
from the 1940s. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. It works
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Well, it's back in it's back in current culture because we just had the movies.
Well, that's true.
Maybe they brought it out.
That's probably true. That's a good point.
We'll go
That's a
with
good
that.
point.
We'll
Yeah,
go with
Chuck
that.
saving the day.
Here we go.
All right. Which Christian musician is known for the album Awaken and hits like Great Are You, Lord?
Okay. We're going to have this debate again. Okay, give me the options.
Zach Williams, Chris Tomlin, Matt Redman, or Philip.
Okay, because great.
Phil,
What was the
man.
title?
Great Are You, Lord?
Great Are You, Lord, right. So Great Are You, Lord was written by all sons and daughters. But that doesn't mean that, all sons and daughters wrote the song. Yeah, I know that now, for sure. But but other people have covered it in the past. And
I don't think it was Zach.
No, it wasn't Zach.
No.
It wasn't Phil Wickham.
Wasn't
I
Phil?
would have known
All right,
that.
you got it down to 2.
Yeah, it's Chris Tomlin. Chris Tomlin for sure. Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, my button's not working. Okay, what do we got next?
In the film I Can Only Imagine,
Yeah,
whose story is told?
Whose story is
Whose
told?
story?
John Newton.
Chris Tomlin,
was easy.
Jeremy Camp, Michael W. Smith, or Bart Millard?
Smitty's in it, right?
Yeah, he is in it.
Yeah, but
That
I don't
is
think
for
we get
sure.
his story.
But no.
It's definitely Bart.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bart Millard from Mercy Me.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Which Christian author wrote Crazy Love, focusing on radical devotion to God?
Crazy
Tim?
Love.
Yes.
Crazy love.
Tim Keller,
Ooh, sounds like something he would
Francis Chan, Rick Warren, or John Piper?
do. Not John Piper.
No.
Doesn't sound like Piper. Could sound like Francis Chan or what's the third
Rick
one?
Warren. Rick
Warren.
Yeah.
I don't think
That
so.
could be.
Yeah, you going with Rick Warren?
No, I'm not.
What's the first one?
I would
Tim
lean more
Keller.
toward.
Could be Tim Keller, but
Really?
he's like a shepherd. Shepherding
I
the
would
child's
lean more
heart.
towards Francis, but
Yeah, I would say so too.
but
I would say Francis Chan, but what are you going to say?
I'm gonna go with you on that one. I'll stick with you.
It's Francis Chan.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, throwing a curveball there for us.
All right. Which Christian singer-songwriter released Reckless Love?
Okay, this is back to
Reckless love.
This is Chuck's guy.
Chuck's guy.
What's the options? Give us the options.
Okay. Brandon Lake, Corey Asbury, Torrin Wells, or Phil Wickham?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Corey.
Corey Asbury. Yes, I see that. It's not good. So we're not doing this the third time. so all right. What else do we have there?
Which Christian author wrote Battlefield of the Mind?
Oh,
Battlefield
Okay,
of the
so
Mind.
I know this one because every young man know this one. This is by Neil Anderson.
Neil Anderson,
Neil
huh?
Anderson. But give me the options.
Beth Moore, Joyce Meyer,
This is not sounding good.
Sheila Walsh, or Priscilla Shire?
Okay, so
Okay.
we're gonna pause right now. Okay, we come back. We've looked this up, and Neil Anderson did write a book called. It was Battlefield. What was it?
I don't remember. Battlefield was in the name
Right.
of one. Then there was another one that was somewhat on the same topic. Breaking. It was more like Breaking Chains.
Right. And he wrote a number of books like that, but the actual title of the book was by Joyce Meyer, right? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. But yeah, if you're a young man, you should go check out Neil Anderson. Neil Anderson? No. Yeah, Neil Anderson.
Neil Anderson.
I want to say Neil
If you're
Armstrong.
a young woman, maybe
Yeah, Neil Anderson.
choices.
Oh my goodness, the battlefield something, battlefield of something. So, all right, what did we do good this time?
Yeah, you did good.
Okay, so you threw a couple curveballs. In case you didn't know it, we had to record this a second time, and there was a few new ones in there just to make it more real.
We actually did pretty good the first time too.
We did.
We didn't do bad.
But I forgot to hit record, and so yikers. So, all right, thanks again, Elisabeth.
Music with Sarah.
What song do you like?
All right, babe. Now that we just found out we may have to redo a segment, let's not redo this one.
Okay. Hopefully
So,
we'll do it right.
what do we have here? This is the song of the week, and this one is called...
It's called More Love to Thee by Fernando Ortega. And this is actually a hymn. So
yes, it's a hymn.
I don't actually know who originally wrote it, but I first heard it, Fernando Ortega doing it this
this
way.
version that you hear in the background, that's how we heard it originally.
Right,
and it's
so
very beautiful.
It's a beautiful song, and it's, pretty much like a prayer.
He doesn't sing it exactly like the hymn does.
He doesn't. That's the thing. I don't know if you remember we first heard it somewhere else.
I remember. So here's the story.
Okay.
So we have friends of ours, and we go to their church, and it's a very conservative church, and they sing hymns and things like that, which is fine. And they said, we're going to sing More Love to Thee. And we just learned this song, and we're like, oh, cool. Yeah, I know the song. Because sometimes you look up at the hymns, and you're like, don't know it. And so we're expecting to sing like this.
Yeah.
Because this is a very beautiful version. This is better than the hymn, I think.
Yeah.
I like how this...
Okay, well, carry on.
And so they're going to do sides. Like this side sings, and then you guys sing. And we were not ready for the cadence change. Like it's just sung a little bit differently. It's sung properly.
Yeah.
But we were like, oh, this is how the real version's sung?
Yeah. Well, so...
I don't like the real version.
There is something in music that I find often, like your first way you learn a song often will be your favorite way. So if you hear a certain version, especially if the versions are, pretty different, sometimes multiple versions can sound kind of the same. But so this one, I knew it first this way, and I thought it was just beautiful. I love the words. I love, the point of the song is more love to thee, O Christ, and it's a simple song.
Oh, yeah.
But it's, it's basically that's just my prayers. I want to have more love for God. Obviously, His love for me is unending, but my love isn't always. And but then going there and hearing them sing it, I was just like, what?
Not the same.
It just wasn't the same at all. So
right.
If you know the hymn, that's a great hymn, but you should look up this version. And since if you know the hymn way, you might not like this version as much. I don't know, but to me, this is my first way to hear it. And I just think
it's a lot
it's
more
beautiful.
Just the piano is beautiful. It's quieter, and it's not so, I don't know. I just like this version a lot better.
Yeah.
And good luck trying to change a hymn, right?
Yeah,
it's like people want to sing this their way.
Whichever way you want to listen to, it's fine. But the second
But
verse,
just on your own, it's fine. I get it. In church, you're not going to change it, probably.
right?
Yeah.
But it says, "Once earthly joy I craved, sought peace and rest. Now thee alone I seek. Give what is best. This all my prayer shall be. More love to Christ O thee." And it's like, that's such those are so few words to say so much. It's like once all the things of this earth, everything that was here to offer and all of that, like that's what I cared about.
Right.
But now it's like all I want is Him. And of course, then it ends with, "Then shall my latest breath." And I don't know, for some reason I like songs thinking about like when I'm going to die. I don't know. That's weird, maybe. But I like singing about my last breath. And it says, "Then shall my latest breath whisper thy praise. This be the parting cry my heart shall raise. Still all my prayer will be more love to Christ." And I think like, if I only have just a little breath, I do want that to be my parting cry. Like I pray that it'll be, with praise that I'll go to the other side. So anyway, beautiful song.
It is a good song. And this was in the era where we were trying to learn more hymns.
Yeah.
Like we knew some hymns growing up, but we kind of knew the popular ones.
Yeah.
And never heard this one. I probably saw it in the hymnal, but
Right.
have no idea. And then we got this album. And by the way, this whole album is pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, this Fernando Ortega album is really good. It's good for quiet time. Like this,
Yeah.
there's nothing fast or upbeat,
No,
So don't
very
listen to this while you're
peaceful.
driving. And but the whole album is good, and he has some takes on the hymns, and some of them are good, and some of them they're fine.
Yeah.
But I like it. It's a
Yeah.
great CD. Can I say that anymore? Like people understand
Yeah, I
what
know.
that
I'm
is.
like, we actually did buy this CD, so that tells you how old it is. Because
Yes.
that's been a while. We haven't bought CDs in a long time.
Do you understand what
but-
a CD is? We bought the CD, but
Yeah.
it's a really good song. So if you're wanting to expand your horizon and check out a hymn, but with a little more of I wouldn't say a modern flair.
No.
It's very classical.
I wonder if Chuck's heard this one because he doesn't like when people mess with him. So
yeah.
I have to see if
Yeah.
he's okay with this one.
Yeah, we'll have to
Anyway.
introduce it to Chuck. So, all right, that's it for this one.
The Mike Charleston Show is brought to you by Fellowship of Believers. For more information, go to our website at fellowshipofbelievers.org. Thank you for listening. We hope we have encouraged you to stand strong in the Lord Jesus and grow in Him.